Shall we begin? Let's begin now.
Okay, so MBL. So the whole idea of this little piece is, like, let's just explain to you off camera there, is the Warriors Code. So, like, going back, I kind of like love reading old books about like old warriors, like the samurai. We had a group called like Athena back in Ireland and stuff, and then you had the knights in Europe, and they all had a code that they had to live by. So those codes would be different for depending on what like tribes of warriors you would look at. So one of the things that I want to do is, like, while I have this downtime, is like talk to players like yourself and figure out, well, what are the codes that you try and live by, whether that be like practicing or whether that be when you're competing. So kind of like your guiding principles and values and stuff like that. So first question to ask is, do you think that since you started on the LPGA, has that evolved over time, or have you always had the same kind of like principles that you have in place now?
I think they've definitely changed over the time. I mean, some of them are still the same. I'm still trying to be me and not trying to change my person just because I'm competing against the world's best players.
Gotcha.
So still some personal things, I guess, that's stayed the same.
Yeah.
And looking from a competitive point of view, I think the way I practice has definitely changed a little bit. Definitely last year, maybe, yeah, especially last year, I've trying to practice smarter. I used to spend a lot of time in the driving range or the putting green for that matters, like spend the whole day at the course in the practice days, but now I'm trying to prioritize like resting and doing other things. So like be good, like practice well when I'm there and practice smart. So make sure I'm like I use my time well. So I might go play 9, then make sure I do all my drills in that hour or an hour and a half on the putting green, then go to the range and like practice instead of chit-chatting too much. Yeah, just so I can get home in time instead of being on the golf club for like 8 in the morning to 6 at night.
Yeah, it's funny. I heard a thing with Harrington there last week, and he said that one of the mistakes he made early in his career was that he used to always prepare for Thursday instead of Sunday. So he'd be working really hard to be ready for Thursday, but then he'd be completely spent by Sunday.
Yeah.
If he did get into contention, he'd be almost too tired to compete and win instead. And then as he got older, he really pared it right back so that he could have his like maximum amount of energy for the back 9 on Sunday.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely. I mean, when you come out as a rookie or you come out to a new like big event or a big tour, you always want to like you almost overdo things instead of just like do what got you there, but then like do it smarter. That's definitely something I've learned, and like less is sometimes more.
Yeah.
And
what are the like when you go to practice or whatever? What would be like the key? Not necessarily the detail of what you do in practice, but what's the kind of attitude that you like to bring to your practice, or the kind of I suppose values that you bring to each practice or training session?
One of the values that I'm trying to bring into practice as much as possible, which is sometimes really hard for me, but try and be brave and try to kind of like force myself into like drills or like performance games that I not necessarily like, just to challenge myself and get in that competitive mode more and more. So when I hit it on the course, I've tried it before, at least I've tried to deal with it. So brave is definitely one of like my big values and more important ones. And then I guess for me, like I'm pretty structured. I as I said, I've practiced on like being focused when I'm there. Sometimes I tend to be like very social and say hello to everyone and stuff, but definitely I'm trying to just be there and get the job done, and then when I'm done I can say hello to people or whatever.
So have the discipline to like prioritize your work
Yeah.
ahead of like being nice to everyone and say hello to everyone and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, which is hard for me sometimes because one of the struggles I have is that I'm really concerned about other people and what they're thinking. So sometimes like staying over the putt, even though you can hear someone, coming close by, then it's not always easy, but I mean, yeah, I'm there to work. So I have to remind myself of that.
And what about when you play? What are what's the code, like the Warriors code, or what's the mindset and attitude and values and stuff like that you want to bring onto the golf course with you when you're when you're actually in the heat of battle and everything is going on? What's important to you there?
As I said in the beginning, like it's really what I learned last year. That for me, it's really important that I'm the good version of myself. That my value is like, I want to be open-minded. I want to like not socialize, but I want to be able to smile to people and like look up and not walk by myself all the time. So just like be the happy version of myself. It sounds really easy, but I mean, I still want to be focused, and I am like when I'm at the shots and stuff, but I've learned that in between shots and in general, that if I'm happy and I can look up, then I'm playing better too. So the overall like clue for me is or key is like be the good version of myself.
And it's like essentially like to be like authentically yourself and be true to yourself and be the best version of yourself, even though it's like the most challenging time to be that way. It's like the truer you stay to yourself.
I mean, it's hard, but I don't know, you're just gonna remind yourself of what's important. And one of the things I keep telling myself, if I'm playing bad or if I'm having a bad day or if it's like a tricky time, that you can still, like, even though it's rough and you had a bad day on the golf course, you can still have a good day. Like your golf is not defining, it should not define how your day is.
Yeah, because like the essence of doing what you guys do and actually competing for a living is that you're gonna have, like, by the very nature, especially golf where you compete so often, it's not like, some sports where you might have like a Worlds, Europeans, and Olympics, and you have a handful of tournaments over the course of it. Like you guys are competing week in, week out. It's inevitable you're gonna lose a lot or have like ups and downs.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and I mean, people can't. I mean, it's only the people really close to you that knows exactly what's going on. Like, you can shoot, I mean, even par or 3 over, and it can still be a good day. Like, you've still reached your goals and you've stick to your values, and you've had a good day, but your score just didn't show it. I think that's important to have in mind too. Like, you can have a lot of stuff going on that you can't see on the scorecard.
And have you got any specific moments over the last few years where you can look back on and think, that was really good in terms of your how you handled yourself, how you conducted your business, like that you were true to your mindset? Is there any specific rounds or anything along those lines that stick out to you?
I mean, last year I had kind of a turning point in Arkansas, which was the week after KPMG. KPMG, I found myself. I mean, you were there, and we had a chat. And I mean, in Arkansas, the most important thing for me, both on and off the course, was just to enjoy myself and make sure I was that good version of myself and talking to my playing partners and just, yeah, having fun basically. And I played a lot better. And then obviously I finished second in Canada, but the way I finished second was kind of, I mean, I'm proud of that. I played with world number 1 on Saturday in the last group, and then we added Brooke to the group on Sunday. And just the way I kept telling myself that, I mean, before every round I looked myself in the mirror in the locker rooms and told myself that I was good enough and I wanted this and I belong there. And just, I don't know, that week was just, I mean, yeah, it was really good mentally. Like I kept telling myself that I was good enough, and I was still, even though I was nervous, and I kind of told myself too that I was going to be nervous, and just accepting that and trying to focus on the things that I could control.
You're saying there a lot, like, I said to myself, like, is self-talk really important to you normally, or is it something you've worked on, or is it just something that you're aware of, or what's the story there?
It's definitely something I'm working on. My self-talk can be very bad, and I can be probably most of the time I'm too hard on myself. So it's definitely something I work on, both in practice days at home or like in a really competitive round on a Sunday. I think it's super important that it can lift you from like a bad round to a decent round, or from a decent round to a good round. Just with you believing in yourself, pretty much.
And like, I think one of the things that one of the interesting things there, I didn't know you did that, but I think the looking in the mirror piece and saying things to yourself is good, because it like kind of attaches like a visual to the
Mm-hmm.
to
It's
the
so
words.
hard. Like in the beginning, it was super hard. I mean, I talked to David about it in the beginning of last year, and then in the beginning it was kind of scary, and I don't know, I didn't really do it in the beginning because it was so weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, in Canada it worked. I mean, worked so well for me to just say them out loud, the things, because if you just say them in your head, it's, I mean, it doesn't have the same effect on me, at least. And I mean, luckily for me, there's not a lot of people that understand Danish, so I can just.
I was gonna say, I was like, it was like in a crowded locker room. You're like, I believe it, but you can shout it. You could in essence shout it yourself in Danish in the mirror, and everybody would think, "Ah, yeah, that's Nicole."
Exactly.
And then so I suppose when we like in terms of like warriors and competitors and stuff like that, and especially now because we don't have, we kind of had just a bit of chat about this before we started recording, but we don't have many like, we've got sometimes we have long gaps between tournaments, let's say. And one of the interesting things, and I was chatting to Mark last week about this, is like when there's a big break, so say like for example when the college season, when they stop, like let's say in November, and they don't start back until February, like every team's average score drops quite a bit. Some do kind of well, and it was something that like, it was something that Tiger was obviously unbelievable at in his career, where he could go like he could only play 10, 15 times, but he would come out and play really well.
Yeah.
So it's so hard to replicate what you would have felt like on that back nine playing with the World War and Brooke Henderson in Canada in practice. But how do you, what's the, over the last few years, what's the best ways of in training and in practice that you've found that simulates some of the same sensations of what playing is like, and also challenge you in the same way that playing does, to tap into those values and all those things that you need to work on when you're on the golf course?
I mean, playing wise, I'm still trying to figure it out. In putting, it's not hard. It's just you setting up a shitty drill and then I'm there. But playing wise, it's still hard I mean, it's so hard to put yourself in that environment because you can't really, like, I mean, at least I can't yet. Like, I haven't found the key to put myself in that environment yet. But I don't know. I mean, the most important thing for me on that, I mean, on the last 9 holes in Canada last year was David said to me, my coach told me the night before, he was like, it's not about you winning or not, it's about you playing a really good tournament. Like, it didn't matter if I shoot like 7 under or 3 under. It was about me being able to look at myself and say, hey, I had 4 good rounds, and like I had a really good tournament. So I mean, even on, I think on 10 and 11, I made bogey par, and Jing Young made birdie, so she was 3 ahead of me. And then, I mean, I knew it was almost impossible to catch her, but
she hadn't made a bogey in like 10 years. So you're
exactly.
like, it's unlikely she's going to come back to me here.
Exactly. There was no way. I mean, obviously I could have caught her, but I mean, from that point, I was really telling myself that it was, I mean, I could have just, not given up, but I could have just throw it out there and be like, oh fuck, I'm not gonna win. But it was just really important to me to finish well, not scoring wise, but like mentally and how I wanted to be as a person. And then like when I got in, I could be proud of myself.
It's funny how like a tournament like that, where okay, you don't win, but like you got so much out of it was such a challenge, the environment. Like playing with Jane Young, then playing with Brooke in Canada.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like the environment was like so tough. Yet, yeah, you didn't win, but like you got so much out of it because of how tough it was. If that had been like maybe a little bit like a different tournament where maybe you were like a different scenario back then, you might not have learned so much about yourself as you did from Canada.
Yeah. No, it was just, yeah. But yeah, it's super hard to put up that, like, get the same feelings and get in the same, like, nervous and all those, like, thoughts that can pop up when you're playing. It's so hard to, like, force them or, like,
replicate
get them there and, yeah, get them there in practice, at least for me.
Okay.
I mean, with that saying, when I played yesterday, I played with my brother and boyfriend and a friend of mine, and on 12th, we have, in my home club, we have this hallway. It's like a train rail to the right and there's trees to the left. And I got so scared of hitting the ball. And I was like, I mean, we're playing here middle of April, and it's just for fun, and I get scared of hitting the ball.
Good, yeah.
Sometimes it just comes up, and it's the same. It was the same feeling that if I was playing in the LPGA. Like, it could have been, it was exactly the same thoughts and like the same
sensations.
Yeah. That I just wanted to not get out of there, but I was trying to fix myself and make sure you don't do this and do that and all that, instead of just hit the ball and see where it goes. So, I mean, I'm saying it's hard to build that environment, but
yeah, it's funny though. It goes to show how important playing is too, because like you can practice all you want, but
because
until you do,
I felt like I've been hitting the ball well on the range the last couple. I mean, at least the last week when I've been able to see the ball fly. But then, and then I've been really good the first 9, and then from there it's like that same feeling that comes into me, like when it's like real competition, I would say.
Brilliant.
Sneaks up on me. It's
And then I suppose the last question I would ask you then would be, in terms of if you were advising anybody else following in the same journey that you're on and trying to establish their own code or guiding principles and stuff, what advice would you give them?
Probably that no values are wrong. Like, what's important for you might not be important for someone else, but it's really important that you can feel your values and that they're important to you. I mean, we've been a group of like Danish professionals doing this, what we call your personal masterpiece, over the last couple of weeks, and I've been chatting to some of the other guys about it. Like, we've shared our masterpiece basically, and I mean, of course, some of our goals are the same, like we want to win and all that, but our values and like, it's so different. Like,
It's mad, isn't it?
it is. I mean, it comes down to the same, but we have a very different approach. So it's so important that you do it your way, and like, what's right for you is right for you.
And it's really challenging too, I think, for a lot of players who make it out on tour first, is you kind of get a little bit this way, and you're like, oh well, she's doing that or he's doing that, and maybe I should be doing a bit of this. And it's like, no, you actually need, like, the more that's going on around you, the more you need to come back into yourself and just do your own thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to get inspiration from people, as long as it, like, as you can take it down and bring it into your own values and coach.
It's like inspiration but not imitation.
Mm-hmm.
So where you're being like inspired by someone but you're not trying to imitate them.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, brilliant. Thanks for that, boss. I'm sure you've inspired loads. Well, all 12 people that probably watch this. So you definitely inspired those.